in this video, we'll see functions in Java. Okay, we also call it methods. Okay, we also call it method. Generally, we call it methods in Java, and but function is a general term. Okay, so let's try to understand what are actually functions. Now, like if I give you an analogy, okay, so let's go back to our 90s time. I think you remember that we used to have TVs. Okay. We used to have television. And this television has antenna. Okay. Has an antenna which is actually set up at the terrace. Now, you know that during the 90s time, the TV actually looked like this. And there is a knob here. Okay. When you're rotating it, then what is happening? The channel is actually getting changed. Okay, so suppose if I am taking an example, like suppose first Doordarshan channel was there. Okay, and suppose there are another channel that is known as Star, Sony. I'm just assuming these things. So when you're rotating the knob, it is actually going from Doordarshan to Star, and from Star to Sony. Now you can see that the like when we are rotating the knob, it is actually going in a linear way. Okay. And every time when you will open the TV, it will always work in the same way. So basically, now we don't have any kind of a control. It's something like if something is coming, if like if the TV, like if you're on the TV, then if you want to change the channel, then you need to do only in this way. Okay. So you can see that like Doordarshan there, then you're moving Star, then you're moving to Sony. Now, if I compare it with the today's time, okay, if I compare it with the today's time, then in that case, how a TV look like? You know that like we have a large LED, LCD TVs, and now the TVs are mostly smart. Okay, so if I just remove the smart thing and okay, so if for now, like suppose if I'm putting this thing, now what will happen is I'm just taking an example of simple cable TV. Okay, and now you already know this thing key like there is a TV, and now you know that like we have a lot of channels, around 100 to 200 channels. Okay, and we also have something called as remote. Okay, kind of a remote control through which we if we press any button, then accordingly that channel which will come. Okay, so now suppose you can see that like in your remote there are many channels. Okay, so you can, if you press some number, then channel will get open. So now you can see that like suppose the star channel is at 120. Okay, and Doordarshan is at 125, and 130 is at like in 126. It is 127. It is so. So now when you will press that button, then what will happen? Automatically that channel will get open. When you will press this 125 button, then automatically this channel will get open. Now what is happening here? So here the implement here you can see that like using this remote, it become very easy to like control the TV. Now you can see that like here our control becomes better. The controlling the TV thing will become better because I just need to type the number and automatically that channel will get open. Okay, that channel. So if I am pressing this, then star channel will get open. If I am pressing this, then this channel will get open. If I press this, then this channel will get open. Similarly, if I if I if I take you to a website, if I take you to Amazon, imagine. Okay. Now you can see that like in Amazon, there are in this screen, this is something like a complete thing. And complete thing basically, this is a home page. Now there are many components here. Okay. So there are many components here. Your account, your order, keep shopping for, like there are many things. But when I'm clicking on this part, suppose when I'm clicking on this return and orders, then it is taking me to the different page. If I'm clicking on this card button, then it will take me to the different page. Okay, so it totally depends upon which button I'm pressing, and every button has something, some code like attached to it. Okay, every button has some code attached to it. And when I'm clicking on it, only that particular code is getting executed. So similarly, when we used to write code, so the one way is like you are writing the code and you started writing your code, and in a single page you write everything. Okay. Now when you will execute it, then what will happen? Everything will get executed. Like in this manner, everything will get executed. But now you know that like if you are writing the code, there might be some code which is not necessary. Like I don't want, I only want to execute some specific part of the code. I only want that like only this part should get executed. I don't want to execute everything. Okay, I don't want to execute because here you can see that the like if I want to control my code, so it is not very good. Okay, here the control is not good. If I only want to execute some specific part of this, the whole thing, then it will not be possible in this one because every time when I will run it, it will execute everything. Okay, so using function, basically what we can do is we can break our code in basically it's something like a chunks. So suppose if I give you an example of Amazon, suppose this is containing like this is a button card, and in card the code is written, and like when you will press the button, so the card code will get executed. Similarly, there is a button for orders, and now when you are clicking on this button, only orders will get displayed. When you are clicking on payment, only this code will get displayed. So basically what we did is we like according to that functionality, suppose card, we attach the code. According to the orders, we add the code. According to the payment, we attach the code. It is very similar how we attach like the you can say that the channel number with the actual channel. Okay. So similarly here, what we are doing is we don't want to execute everything. We only want to specific. If I only want to basically execute specific part of it, then how will I do it? So it is actually using methods. We call methods in Java. Okay, so that is the main thing. Similarly, you have seen that in Instagram, so you can assume that like this is our remote. The whole screen is our remote, and whichever thing you are clicking on, it is actually taking you to that thing. Okay, so you can imagine this as a channel. So if you're clicking on them, then it will take you to that part. If you're clicking on the order, then it will take you to that part. So that is the main thing about the like this thing, like what are actually functions. So now let's see what is Java methods. So let's try to understand methods. So when I'm talking about methods, so it is a block of code. It is a block of code designed to perform a particular task. Designed to perform a particular task. Okay, so but remember one thing, there are two very important things. That one thing is you can create multiple blocks of code, okay, and then you also need you can say that a kind of a remote control through which you can call it. So there are two things. So this method will only get triggered when you will call it. Okay, so suppose this is X, this is Y, and this is Z. So this X method will only get executed when you will call it. Okay, when you will call it. Call it basically means when you will press some button and something like that. On this code will only get executed when basically you will call it. Okay, so this is something like this. So now let's see some real example, and through that we'll understand it. So I'm taking you to Replit. So this is for Java methods. So we generally call it methods in Java. Now, here you can see that there is a main class, and suppose imagine that like I have a variable, okay, int x equals, suppose I want to create a calculator, okay. So first I'm writing a code for addition. So now what I did is int x equals to, so basically I have written here is int x equal to 2, int y equal to 3. Now here you can see that now if I want to perform the addition, so it will be something like this, int add equals to x plus y. Now if I execute it, the addition value is add. So that is the main thing. Now this is for addition. Now suppose similarly I have to write for the subtraction. Okay. So now I'll change the variable and I'm saying that sub a minus b. So here I'm saying subtraction value is. So here I'll write sub. I'll copy this and here I multiply this and here I will say multiplication value is 1. Now if I execute it, let's see. If I execute it, now let's see what will happen. So basically here you can see that when I'm running this, so here I have written some variable and here I've done addition and I'm printing the value. Similarly, I have added the variable and doing the subtraction and similarly for multiplication. So now you can see that it is giving me an error because here I've declared the same variable. So I'll write E and F and multiply by E and F. So if I run it, so basically previously I did this mistake like the A and B actually I was declaring again and twice. So that's why it was giving the error. Now you can see that like since I've written this thing, it will give me an output. So now you can see that like my output is coming, the value, adding value, addition value is 5, subtraction is -1, multiplication is 6. So, but the thing is key, now you can see that when I'm executing the code, every time it is actually what it is doing is it is executing all of this code. Okay. And I want to tell you one thing. There is one method here, one function here, which already exists. That is a main method. So I told you in the beginning, in the first session, that there is a main function. And who is actually calling it? It's something like Java compiler. Like when I'm executing it, so by default, Java is calling the main program, like main function. And this through this main function, it is actually executing all of this code. But the problem here is I don't want to execute all this thing. I only want ki when I'm calling addition, then only this addition values get called. When I'm calling this subtraction, only this subtraction will get called. And when I'm calling this multiplication, only this thing will get called. Okay, so for that, I want to tell you that we can create our own functions also. Okay, and we can trigger it accordingly. So if I just copy this code and if I take you to the next one, now here you can see that this is a class and inside class you can write as many function you want. So there is a main function and with that you can also put your own function. Okay, you can also put your own function. Now the thing is, how can you create your own function? Okay, so that is so now guys, let's try to understand these lines. Okay, so you already know that, like in from the day one, I told you that when we will learn function, we'll understand everything, like all these things. Okay, so the main point here is, like, if I explain you this part, so you can see that here it is written public. Okay, so public, you can avoid it right now. Okay, public basically means it is available to all, but you can only understand public when we will learn class and object. So that will so when this part will come, then this thing will get clear. Now, when I'm saying that static basically means it is accessible inside this class. Okay, so inside this class, from the opening bracket and the, like, in this closing bracket, in between. Okay, if you want to access this function, you can access it from anywhere. Okay, so we'll see that, like, when we'll write the code on it, then we'll understand it. Void basically means this function will not return anything. Okay, so you will understand it when we'll talk about return thing. But right now, void का मतलब, like, this function will not provide you anything. Provide you basically anything मतलब, like, returning basically means when this function will get dead. Dead basically means when this function life will get over. At that point, it will not return anything. So right now, you just need to remember one thing. It is returning nothing. Returning nothing. Now, this is a main function. This is the name of the function. Okay. And then this is actually known as parameters. This is actually known as parameters. The parameter will also, we will also see that the parameter part. But right now, the main part here is when we are writing public static void main string args, this is actually known as access modifier. Okay. Static basically means it is available to this class. Okay, from wherever you want to call it, it will get called. And void basically means it is not returning anything. Main is the name of the function, and this is known as parameters. Okay, so we'll go step by step. So this is the basic thing. Now, whatever you want to execute, what is happening is, when I'm writing system.out.println, so at this point, what is happening, Java is actually calling it. Java is, so when I'm executing this part, so if I write Java and problem one dot Java. So in this case, what will happen is, Java is actually looking for a main function. So when I'm saying that Java problem one dot Java, so what is happening is, I gave the, like, the file name to the Java, and I'm asking Java to please execute this. Now, Java will go into this code. Okay, Java will open the file and it will check that, okay, where the problem one is mentioned. So you already know that, like, the file name and the class name should be same. Now it will look for the problem one. Okay, now it find the problem one. Now in this class, what it will do is it will try to find the main function. It will try to find the main function. And in this main function, now you can see that, like, it finded the main function, and now it will automatically execute this code. So by default, it is looking for the main function, and that is the starting point. Okay. Now, if you want to create your own function, okay, so you can put your function like in this body, in this part. Okay, so you can see that, like, because there is already one function exist, now you can add more functions here. So in previous example, you can see that, like, we were putting everything into the same thing, same main function. But right now, what I want is, I want separate function for addition, separate function for basically subtraction and multiplication. So if I just write the function for addition, so how will it work? So first, let's write public as it is. Okay, public will write as it is. Static, since I want that, I'm writing this function like for this bracket, so it will be very easily accessible inside this thing, like from wherever I'll call it. So right now you can see that this is a public and static. Static basically it is accessible inside it. Don't worry, static will also see later. Okay, but abhi ke liye, you can just assume this thing. Now void is something like this function will not return anything. So I'll write the same thing, because when we will learn pointers and return, then you will understand this concept. So void, and then you can put the function name addition. So this is the same thing. Now, after the function actually look like this, now you can see that the bracket is here. I'm opening and closing the bracket because there are no parameters. Here you can see that. Like in this main function, there is a parameter, but in this one, there is no parameter. I'm right now putting it because when we'll learn it, we will see that. Now opening and closing bracket. So this is something like an addition function look like. Now here inside this, what I will do is I'll go to this code and I'll copy this part and I'll paste it here. Okay. Now I'll write for the addition, no, subtraction, sorry. So this is for the subtraction. Now I have actually created the function, addition function. Now I will write public again, static, now void, and now I'll write subtraction. I'll opening and closing the bracket, open and close the bracket. Now I'll write the same code. I'll just copy this part from here to here. After this, I will write multiplication. Now, multiplication, I will write public static void multiplication. Now, you can see that like multiplication is there. Now, how will I do it? I'll go to this part and I'll copy this code. Okay, this is the multiplication one. So I have written three, I've created three function, addition, subtraction. Now let's try to execute this code and let's see what will happen. Now you can see that again it is printing hello. Why? Because when I'm executing this part, what is happening? It is going to the problem one. Inside this, it is looking into the main function, where the main function is there. So main function is there. Now it will execute this code hello. So hello will get executed. But now you can see that like if I execute this code, previous one, it will give me output this one, this thing, addition value is, subtraction value is, multiplication value is. But this is not giving me all this thing. But remember one thing, whenever you are creating a function, okay, so this function we have created. So that means we created a channels. हमने channel बना दिए. But now we need a remote control through which we can call it. So always remember one thing, कि whenever you have created some function, okay, it will not get automatically called except the main function which get automatically called because it is called by Java. But if you want to call a function, then you need to call it somewhere. You need to call a function. Okay, I want you to get executed. I want you to get executed. I want you to get executed. So suppose if I want to call a function, then how we can call it? So for now, suppose if I remove this hello world, I keep it. After this hello, what I'll do is if I want to call this addition function, so I will just write addition and just put the bracket and semicolon. So this is the way how we can call the addition function. So if I execute it, let's see what will happen. So the addition value is 5. Now, what if I call it 3 times? Now it will get executed 3 times. Similarly, in between, if I call subtraction. So that is the beauty of function. Now you can execute a piece of code multiple times, any number of times you want. So now you can see that like all the output is coming. So now this is like a remote control. And using this remote control, I can call it as many times I want. Okay, and that is a beauty which it is giving me. Like you can see that like this is the output is giving me. And if I again execute it, then you already know that I'll get the output for addition, subtraction, and multiplication. The main advantage, you will understand it later, but the main thing is we just try to understand the concept. Even I can also run a loop, and if I want to execute it 100 times, I equal to 1, I less than equals to 100, I plus plus, and now suppose if I want to execute it 100 times, I can also do it. So it is very hard to do it manually, like, but here you can see that using function, it becomes very easy to call these things like 100 times. So guys, this is all about function. So this is just I've given you the basic idea. Okay, later we'll also see like how to use parameters, how to use a return thing. Okay, why we have used this void. So basically we haven't understood these points, but just now this is just to give you an overview, like what functions, what methods are, and what how it actually look like. Okay, so generally in Java we call it as methods. So yeah, that's all.